Okay, rightio. Shelter FootyCast live Easter Monday. That's right, public holiday. You can't stop Mark Redding's working. He's just a workaholic, this man. I tell you what, it's good to see him in his hoodie. It's great to be with you, audience members. Make sure you're still getting into touch with the show, Shelter FootyCast on socials. We'd love to hear from you on email, footycast@backchatstudios.com.au. We're allowed to drink now. I'm sure you are. Shelter, go get some of those into you. You can get a discount at the shelterbrewing.com.au. 10% off right now with Shelter FootyCast on those. Skeeter, I shouldn't have thought anything less. Of course you're here to work, mate. Of course you are. How are you?
I'm not bad. Easter Monday, footy to come, and a few hours from now. And if you've got every tip right this weekend, you are a genius.
You're kidding yourself. Yeah. You're kidding yourself.
It's bizarre, some of the results, isn't it? Just extraordinary. And last week, Eagles fans were venting. This week, it'll be Dockers fans that are really peed off.
How'd you get lunch? You see, you're banging on about lunch on Thursday. You're very excited about lunch on Sunday.
Well, Sunday was like this. The weather's beautiful. We went to a place called Pinchos, I think it's called, down in Leederville.
You meant to say that with like a Spanish accent.
Isn't it
Spanish?
I don't know.
Can you give us a bit of an accent?
No, I'll not give you an accent. The French stuff, I'll leave it. I'll keep that up.
Can you say it with a French accent?
Anyway, I had some nice food there. Went to the garden, had a few more. Ended up the shoe, had a few more. And then
What's he had a crack?
Well, my wife was with Vic was with me in a couple of months.
I didn't say your wife wasn't with you.
She was trying to get me to go home, but eventually we did.
Well, so it was good. So you saw Higo.
That's where Higo.
Does every one of your days on the beer have to end with a beer with Higo? I feel like it does.
You know Higo, don't you? Yeah, one of the world's great blokes. And every time my wife's trying to sneak me out of the. She's like, come on, let's go.
Sneak you out.
No, he's trying to sneak me two bourbon. So he put one behind a pot plant. Right in front on the table, and I hold one, and so as soon as I get that, he takes that and then puts the other. So he gives me just to keep me there longer.
So hang on. So is he sneaking from Victoria?
Yeah, so she can't see that I've got two there.
Because if I just flicked you off and I'm Victorian here, she would be like, yeah, I saw Mark. He had two. He had two bourbons. He was hiding one from behind a pot plant. I was watching him do it.
No, that'd be right.
He thought he was the biggest genius in the world.
Don't blokes? We think we're smart. We're not.
Like Victoria, I just imagine cutting to it. Victoria's sober. She's just watching you having a bourbon, and you're like sucking out of a straw,
hiding. I saw you had 3 in 10 minutes. No.
Oh, very good.
Drink responsibly, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. As we always say. Now, Skeeter, my voice is back.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's you're back to your good self, and you're up and about, which is good.
I have enjoyed this weekend of footy. I've enjoyed Thursday night footy. I enjoyed the doubleheader Friday. I enjoyed the spacing Saturday. I liked watching footy Sunday night. I enjoy that there's footy Monday. I feel like we're back to COVID. I feel like there's a game of footy every day because we're going to get to Thursday. And we're going to have a game coming up. We're going to be into next round very quickly.
You're saying you want Sunday night football like they do in the US.
Did you like it or not? Did you watch it last night?
I did. No, I did watch it. And
did you enjoy it?
Well, Bulldogs were far too good. But,
you would have an investment, no doubt.
Yes, I did. In game, I took the Bulldogs at -17, and that was all. I obviously gave it back somewhere else during the night. But no, look, I know the idea of Sunday night football, but it's not going to work broadcast wise. Maybe for Fox, Fox would be the only home.
Why would it not work for 7?
Because I don't think it would. Because obviously, the 7 network.
Because there are other
commitments. They've got
maths and
farm lots of wife and all that sort of stuff. So no, it wouldn't work. But you're a fan of Sunday night football, are you? More than Monday night.
It's very much just a random take. Like I just enjoyed.
Yeah, on the long weekend. This weekend coming up is Thursday.
Anzac Day,
Anzac. Yeah, so we've got a bit of variety this weekend.
So like this weekend, we got up Easter egg hunting, then we drove to Mandurah, got down there, watched a game, had a bit of a break, might have had a snooze. Played a bit of cricket in the backyard, came back in, game was on again. Like it was just good. Yeah. Good day. And got to 9 o'clock, I was done.
Good time of year, yeah.
All right, that's enough from you and me and our social live, Skeeter, because it's boring as batshit, both of us. Yeah. Let's get into the week of footy. Pretty much breaking news, Skeeter. We're recording this at 10 a.m. on Monday. Sam Darcy, which grave fears last night when I thought textbook ACL. Like if you put this into a textbook, how do you do your ACL? Exactly how he did it. has not done his ACL. He's still be out long term. He is going to have surgery on his knee. He's got a fracture in his knee, which doesn't sound particularly good, but he has not done his ACL and his season is not done yet, apparently. Good news.
Oh, it's great news. When I say great news, it's better than news than what we thought. And watching the TV last night, you just sense that you saw the dejection on his face, and it looked like a guy that a bit like Sam Draper when we saw him in the rooms.
Yep.
I thought, wow, this is not a great result for him
Which
either.
it isn't.
No, it isn't, exactly. But for Sam, yeah, it didn't, or everything pointed to a long-termer, like a 12-monther.
Well, Matt Egan, who's the footy manager, came out on TV and said, we think he's done his ACL. The medicos think, because they do the ACL test. I've had it a couple of times. They basically, they can tell, like by bending your knee and pulling it the right way, if your ACL's gone, as
Like
you know.
mine.
Yeah,
That's the small scar.
yeah, correct.
I got one down from here. Lucky now they're just little. You didn't have a knee, Rico, did you?
No, I didn't. No. Like, if you compared you and Sam Darcy as footballers, like what would sort of the comparisons be, do you think? Like, do you have any?
We've both worn boots. He's a gun. It's Bulldog supporters. Given the Jamara situation, this is hopefully it's not too long, 6 to 8 weeks, maybe. I don't know, but it's better than the ACL.
You're going to hate this take. It's very unpopular.
What's
and
that?
Everyone will hate it.
What?
Like a bit of carry on about someone doing their ACL. Like if Toby Pink at North Melbourne or Will Schofield at West Coast, like I understand he's a good player. I understand he's generational, all that sort of stuff. But,
You saying too much what?
just, a bit of
Noise?
people, I just don't think the same love is given to every player.
Of course it isn't.
Okay.
What do we expect? Toby Pink, with all due respect to Tobe.
Use me. If I do my ACL.
Or you, or Toby, or...
I just a bit of carry on. Get on with it. Like, it's injury. It's happened. Let's keep going.
I think it's just a 12-monther that people get a bit disappointed about.
Yeah, but like no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit about everyone else. It's just bloody all these bloody Hollywood players.
Sound like a bitter, twisted ex-footballer.
That's exactly right. Couple of other things from the weekend. Swans fan throwing a fan or a flag or something or a record at Alir.
It was a kid, essentially, wasn't it? Was it like a teenager?
16-year-old. Watched this one live. Look, you can't be throwing things at players.
No.
Clearly. But I don't think this is... I think sometimes we want to go, like, you can't... How dare you be throwing things at players? There's a difference between throwing a beer bottle at Alir and throwing a paper fan. And clearly, I thought by the reaction, the kid was just petrified. I think probably just got caught up in the moment. You don't want to encourage it, clearly, but we don't need to put him in jail.
No, but I think if that was an adult of adult age, I think there'd be
Lifetime ban.
Stronger penalty.
You can't be throwing things at players.
100% right. And you mentioned he was a bit taken. It reminded me of the Adam Goods situation when there was the verbal came over the fence all those years ago, and the young kid didn't probably realise what I think she said. So, yeah, anyway, that was a bit of a flashpoint yesterday, but I don't think there's going to be anything long-term for the teenager. Hopefully just a bit of embarrassment and maybe a lesson learned.
I'm not sure if you watched all of the game last night, Skeeter, but at halftime, Marcus Bontempelli had 20 touches and kicked 2 goals and was clearly the best player in the AFL by a long way. Like, you haven't seen him all year, you forget how good he is, but like he's just a superstar linked to the West Coast Eagles.
Well, linked is an interesting word.
Well,
there's been an overture from the Eagles to the management.
I just saw something about Collingwood as well. Well, I mean, does he have a contract for next year? He mustn't.
I think he's coming out. He's coming out in the next 12 months, I'm pretty sure.
Right. So what do you think about that? Marcus Bontempelli to West Coast. Good move, bad move? Don't care.
You talking for Bontempelli or for the Eagles?
Both.
Yeah,
Start with West Coast. Do you think that's a good move by West Coast to get Marcus Bontempelli, the best player in the AFL, to the club?
At the expense of what?
Money, a lot of it.
Yes. And you're thinking...
And other players not getting money.
Yeah. You always take the best players you can get, but how old's Bont? Is he closer to 30?
How old do you think he is?
I would suggest he's 28.
He's 29. I thought he was 31.
Yeah.
So he's younger than I thought.
But that's... So you... Is that the type of... He's a star. Is that the type of player the Eagles need moving forward with the list they've got?
I think it... Look, I've been highly critical of West Coast. I think they're not doing a lot of things well. far from well. Their list being one of those things. And they, to me, don't have the next captain that jumps off the page. If Liam Baker's the guy, I mean, he's been there for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So if you take Liam Baker out of it, like, who's your next captain? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you who'll be captain if Marcus Bontempelli comes to the club. It'll be Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, so
Has anyone ever done that? Gone to a club and been the captain before playing a game?
I think so.
Jordan Dawson?
Jordan Dawson came to mind. Yeah, going from City to Adelaide.
Was he there for a
was
year?
Was he the first year or not? Irrespective. So on that basis, we've heard talk of Paddy Cripps. Would you, as an example, did you get a Cripper to the West Coast Eagles? Bontempelli.
I would rather Bont than Cripper. No, both great players.
Yeah, Cripper's I think probably a bit more banged up and carried the load. But in theory,
like if you say yes or no.
Oh, you know what? You can say yes on the basis that he's such a good player, and then you work out what happens around him afterwards. Will it happen? In my opinion, a definite no.
Okay, so on 6PR, your station, and mine, rumour file came through this morning that a senior West Coast official demanded that Harley Reid's contract be signed to West Coast. I've done a little bit of digging around. I don't know if there was I don't know if it was a confrontation per se, more than just a conversation, but it did happen.
Between, just to repeat, the
senior West Coast official. And Harley Reid's manager.
Okay,
so it did happen.
Do you think you know the official without revealing the name?
No, I don't.
Okay,
no, and I'd tell you I did, but I wouldn't tell you who it was if I did know. But I don't know who it is. What's going on there? I don't know if that's overly good list management policy to be hitting up managers and telling them to sign a deal that they've clearly got in front of Harley Reid.
Yeah.
And Elijah Hewitt this morning has come out after his big game on the weekend and said Harley Reid is staying at West Coast categorically.
He's one of, and you know what? Elijah's one of those confident, cocky young blokes that would have been speaking to Harley over the weekend or whatever, and just come out and say, "Oh yeah, he's told me saying." Like instead of
it's probably spot on.
He's being honest and open. And how significant, if he is to stay, would that be to the Eagles? That's
I don't know. Do they get Bont and Harley? You'd be pretty excited if you're Eagles fans.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. But it's interesting, isn't it, that there's we're still April and there's a bit of urgency from the Eagles to get a result.
Without breaking down the Freo game, so it's not all West Coast here off the top, without breaking the Freo game down, which we will in just a bit, like where are Fremantle at right now? Because it feels to me they're under a lot of pressure and they've set high expectations, talking about finals and premierships in their season openers. They've done it back-to-back years now. They failed last year and they're not in a good area right now. Where do you see Freo right now? Caleb
Sarong said on 6PR straight after the game, "We are just going." And I think that probably...
Well, are they? Are they even going?
What are they, 3-3? So they're just going.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they're just going. Is a pretty apt...
In West Coast?
Yeah, yep.
Richmond?
Yes.
And...
Bulldogs,
which...
So they're just going. I think it's a fair assessment of where they're at. Very disappointed with what they produced on the weekend. It was... my big mouth opened up before the game and said, "How is Melbourne going to kick a score?"
Very easily,
very comfortably. I mean, did they crack the 100? Very close to it. The defence of Freeman. You're the defender here. How was with no Van Rooyen, no Fritsch, obviously May and Lever down back, but how do they kick a score under those circumstances against a Fremantle side that prides itself on that unit they have?
Yeah, I spoke to someone who would know over the weekend and said, this is the way the game's going, right? So I asked the same question because I was watching this game as it was happening and I was with this person who would know. And I said, what's going on here? Like, no May, no Lever, yet Melbourne looked comfortable almost behind the footy.
Yeah.
And then no Van Rooyen, no Fritsch, their best two forwards, and they look good. And this person said, basically the way footy's going, doesn't matter who you've got out there. Like, you just need full buy-in, and it needs to be full buy-in to quick footy that goes fast, that goes forward, and you're just in one-on-ones everywhere. And if you can't get it done one-on-one, you get exposed. Cosy Pickett exposed the entire Freo Football Club.
Cosy Pickett's just exposed how much money he's going to get or what sort of deal the Dockers are going to put in front of him.
Yeah, but I agree with you. But, like, mate, he beat people one-on-one. I just saw, you know what I mean? Like, he just was a one-on-one. So you're getting caught in so many one-on-one contests now as a player. It doesn't matter if you're Stephen May or Lever or Van Rooyen or Fritsch. It's just if you can win a one-on-one or not.
Isn't it also, like, the results of the weekend speak to this, the attitudinal aspect of the game, what sort of mindset the Dockers took into that game, I think is and for them, it's critical.
And you can imagine Melbourne's. Like, Simon Goodwin's basically on the chopping block if he loses that.
Oh, he was massive.
He was already on the chopping block. So, look, Freo need to be parked for like 6 weeks. I need to see him again in 6 weeks.
But that's
you need to go
6
and work
weeks.
on your game, and I'll go and see you in 6 weeks' time, and then I'll have a comment on them because like they're nowhere right now.
And the 6 weeks coming up, there's not too many gimmies in that group, I've got to tell you. They've got Adelaide, Anzac Day, and in that next batch, they've got the Giants away. They've got Collingwood at home. They've got a pretty tricky 4 or 5 weeks.
The next 5 is Adelaide at home, St Kilda
away, Marvel Friday night.
Collingwood or North Melbourne?
It's Collingwood.
Collingwood here, GWS and Port Adelaide.
That's tough. Port's here, but irrespective, it's not easy.
I'm telling you, given the noise we're seeing around the AFL with coaches, if they go 1-4 in the next 5. Justin Longmuir will be in big trouble.
That conversation I don't think will happen unless they make the 8. Unless they don't make the 8.
If they go 1-4, they're not making the 8. If they win one of the next 5 games, they're not making finals.
Yeah, well, that's
because they've won 3 games. They'll be 4 and 10 or something.
2 weeks ago, I was saying they'd win the next 4 and they lose to Melbourne.
They've done it to themselves, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, do you shy away from it? Do you sort of talk it down and then hope you go well, or do you do what they've done and talk it up and commit to it and then fail? There are 2 ways of doing it, but no one else to blame than themselves right now, and they've got and in that sense they can dig them out themselves. Back on West Coast, just quickly, Oscar Allen rested, the captain of the football club, managed. And
I don't think we've spoken and did use you as a reference point last week about it. I don't like the term. All clubs use it. We've seen it with it was Membry up at the Gabba on Thursday. Collingwood used that term, and David Mundy and myself we spoke about it on Friday night or Thursday night footy. It is. Why not have some clarity and look? Is he injured? Do you think, or is he being? No. Do you think it was form?
I think it was a collection of form, pressure, state of the club, state of himself. I think it was actually by definition managed. I think it was a collective decision between Oscar and the club to say probably not best to play this week.
Do you buy the turnaround, the 6-day turnaround, the 3 games in 13 days or whatever you're saying?
Nothing to do that.
So why not be a bit more open about it? And just say, look,
I think because the club's trying to protect him, Oscar's probably trying to protect himself, and it's the best way to put enough grey in it that you don't know exactly what's going on.
And the last thing I want to put is personal reasons, obviously, because that's it's an interesting one. I'd like more transparency as you have called for a while. But you're saying this is acceptable.
I would like more transparency across the AFL, but from West Coast in particular, I just think this whole situation with Oscar Allen has been handled so poorly. I was really strong on BackChat. I think it's been a butchering.
Are you against him speaking publicly?
I think if you go back to the start, West Coast could come out and say, we've put an offer in front of Oscar and it's probably not competing with other clubs. I think, why can't you say that? Like, there's nothing wrong with that because that's what's happened. So if they said that, being honest about it, we'd love him to be the captain and be at our football club for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
but he's had some injury issues and he hasn't been able to get on the park.
Yeah.
And we're not going to commit to a 7-year long-term contract just because he's captain. If West Coast came out and said that, I don't think that would be that controversial. At the very same time, Oscar Allen could say publicly, as you know, West Coast have put a contract in front of me. There's better offers elsewhere. And I am speaking to other clubs because this is a business. And the club that's made me the captain haven't put a contract in front of me that's competitive. And so I'm going to, look, I would love to play for West Coast. I want to be the captain. I want to be here. There are 2 things that could happen that haven't happened. Conversely, we've got Oscar Allen out in the hill basically in Burswood doing a press conference saying that he's ashamed and embarrassed that he's put everyone in this situation. Why aren't West Coast doing the same thing? Why are the powers to be at West Coast going, we're a bit embarrassed and ashamed of the way we've treated our captain? Because they could easily do that. It's a 2-way street, Skeeter.
Yeah, but you're suggesting here that the Eagles have put a contract in front of him. You're right, not as lucrative. Saying not as lucrative as others.
And that's true.
That's fine. But that's not to say the Eagles are in the wrong in that department.
No,
if they believe that his body or the longevity or whatever it is, you don't just have to bend because there's better offers out there.
Where they are... No, correct. They've made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
But so then why they got him out on a hill by himself, left to the vultures? Like, that's what I mean. I don't think there's been a lot of accountability by West Coast. It's okay. Of course it's okay. This is how footy is these days.
Mate, when I say accountability, I think you're right, though. Just to put it out in the domain of the public that this is what we've done. We've got a contract there. Oscar, as is his right, he's exploring other possibilities. We've put an offer there we think is commensurate with what career he has left in his time in the AFL, his injury issues, and when Oscar's comes back to us with an answer or we'll chat. Yeah, I think that is a type of language they need to use.
Honesty and openness will never fail. I promise you. If you have ownership and accountability of your decisions and you either own it as a player, even if something changes, you think about Tom Barras, right? I think he was being pretty honest when he said, I'm going to be a West Coast player until the rug gets pulled out from under him. And then I think he felt like the rug was pulled out from under him and everyone was banging on, oh, he said this, he said that. He then just came out and said,
I think circumstances change.
Yeah, and he said I was wrong, and I'm sorry for that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, 100%.
But instead, these clubs, West Coast, one of them, they want to put their head in the sand and pretend things aren't happening.
But their argument to you, Scott, will be we don't discuss players' contracts, and this is no exception.
Yeah,
that's sort of the line that we try.
Yeah, I mean, we're not dealing with terrorist organisations. Like, it sounds like we don't negotiate with terrorists. Like, what are we talking about here? You should talk about players' contracts because that's the business we're in. Like, if you just have an open door policy and like we're going to talk about what's happening at our football club, I'm going to be honest about it. Idiots like you and I put myself in the idiot column first, absolutely.
Oh, I'm surprised you've deferred for once.
So we don't get to bang on about it because all we get to do is look at it and go, oh, that's the situation, right? Okay, and then we can have an opinion on it. But if you're just told what's happening, that's what I'm going to bang on about this all year. Skeet, before we go into the games, I just want to talk about this because I think I spoke about you, maybe no, Adam Papalea. Are we doing a disservice to umpires by leaving it to their discretion and their the way they're looking at the rules for, I think, first and foremost, this 15-metre play-on stuff, as well as 50-metre penalty. I saw a 50-metre penalty on the weekend go for 30, Max Gawn.
That's
late.
Right. Yes, that was
30 metres.
Yeah, and he had a shot on goal. That was the one?
Had a shot, yeah.
From about 45,
yeah,
50
he
metres.
took a mark 70 out and had a shot on goal from 50 out. Like, he should have been kicking at the top of the goal square effectively. I also saw one at the Gabba that went for 80 metres. So are we doing a disservice to umpires by letting them basically use their discretion to call play on these 15-metre kicks and then the 50-metre penalties they're butchering as well? Or is there just no way around it?
This is, thinking off the top of my head, which is always dangerous.
Let's go.
That case in point at the Gabba, is it possible, given the technology we have, 15-metre penalty, righto, they will have a tracking device they can use. So, okay, take it to this 5 metres from out. Can you have any assistance from above?
Well, they've got comms.
Yes.
They speak upstairs. It's a great point you make. I sat in a briefing session before the AFLW season last year, and it's not quite there yet, but they're getting microchips in the balls.
Yes, it had a few issues in the AFLW.
Yeah, because they didn't have the graphics to roll out with it. So they basically had the technology, but they didn't have the broadcast to back it up. But I think by next year, all balls have microchips, and we're seeing velocity of kick, we're seeing distance of kick live. And if we do that, I think the umpire gets a green or red on their watch if a ball's gone more than 15 or a 15 or not in their ear. Pay it or not pay it, like instant live feedback. I don't think we're very far away from that. I know technology is not your strong suit, Skater.
No, I know that, but hang on a sec. We're talking at the chip kicking or even the quick kick and go. That is tough for the umpire. And look, to have the 15 metres visually able to get that right every time is not easy.
No, it's not. But I still think probably some of them are trying to make them, like, enforce themselves in the game and pay that free kick. Like, I also think that 15 metres is pretty obvious. It either is it or isn't. And if it's close, you probably don't call play on.
Is it more harshly marked in defence or attack?
Which is ridiculous. Which is so dumb. Yeah. Dylan Shield got done in the West Coast game, and he was spewing. And we're 30 metres, called play on. He got done. I think Elijah Hewitt might kick the goal. Like someone, and he was spewing up. Anyway, that's my thoughts of the day, Skeeter. We got any stings available, Daniel? Oh, beautiful. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter Brewing Co., the beer that we can't get enough of. All right, let's get into the games, Skeeter. Essendon defeat West Coast by 2 points at Optus Stadium Friday night. It was Easter Friday football, and I didn't give West Coast a great hope. I spoke to a few people at Essendon before this game, and I was basically guaranteeing the win, and they said, be careful what you wish for, and certainly Bombers fans would have been on the edge of their seat in this one.
Yeah, they would have been. And I think, again, the amount of stick that the Eagles had copped during the week, they made some changes. Jake Waterman started superbly, 4 goals and in the first quarter.
Yep.
And they had energy. I mean, you just look at some of the numbers throughout the course of the night, and it was I think that's all that fans wanted to see, wasn't it, Scully? That energy, the effort, the pressure around the ball, I thought was terrific.
Nothing really changes in footy, Skeeter, and it's a pretty simple game. If your senior players play well, then your young players get to sort of show their flair a bit. You're going to get inconsistent performances from young players. It never changes. Sometimes Harley Reid will kick goal of the year, have 30. Sometimes he won't have much, and that's why I think criticising young players is difficult. But what the issue has been for West Coast this year is their senior players have been absolute dog shit, if we're really honest. And the best player on the weekend, Jeremy McGovern.
Comes back in the side,
right?
Immediate impact.
Yep. Tim Kelly, I thought was very good. Jake Waterman, very good. Matt Flynn, really competitive and good. So their senior players play well, and it gives the opportunity for guys like Elijah Hewitt to go and do what he does.
In the second half.
He's he's a bit play, so he doesn't have to drive anything. He's just...
No, but what we saw, you're right, but what we saw someone on social media saying he should go back to the waffle. Obviously, that was before they... It's
When, at half-time?
At half-time. And then you see what he can do. And it's little moments. You see little moments, you think, okay, once he gets more trust in his body, that will continue. Harley Reid, I thought, was
good.
Good. Yeah, there were a lot of positives, and I think a lot of that is, you're right, led by just having some senior players back in the side.
Graham and Baker were good.
Yeah, they had a lot of, and you're up by 5 goals or thereabouts. You start thinking that this team's, can win a few games this year. They might take a huge step backwards against Hawthorn this weekend.
So who do they have this weekend?
Yeah, but no, there's. That's the sort of effort that I think Andrew McQualter would be hoping for, pretty much week in, week out.
Only difference will be the time between games. So when is the Hawthorn game? Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday. So Hawthorn will have a 6-day break.
6-day break, and West Coast will be off for tenner.
Yeah, except I think the game's in Lonnie. I'll just check that. Is it Lonnie or is it might be Marvel?
I think it's Marvel.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it is Marvel.
So Hawthorn don't have to travel.
Okay. But 6-day break and Marvel Stadium. I thought Jack Williams was good. I thought Archer Reid looked good at stages. I thought there was a lot of positives for West Coast. I don't think you can be too negative on it. I thought Liam Ryan has been probably almost their best player this year. Look, he had the moment at the end of the game where it looked like he played on. I reckon there may have been a play on call.
It must have been.
I was right there, like on the boundary. The way he reacted, I didn't hear it, but that doesn't mean anything. Old used up footballer.
I thought he just played on. I thought, well, he's backing himself here.
The only other thing was he had a couple of shots just before that, both third and fourth quarter he missed. And I reckon sometimes with flying, he just plays on instinct and played on. Might have thought he was too far out. If he kicks a goal, everyone loves it. Yeah,
maybe he kicked a point, I think it would have been. No, anyway, at that stage it was... they were up against it. But again, we've potted the Eagles for what they've produced at times this year. But that was an admirable... I don't think any West Coast supporter left there aggrieved with what they saw.
They had a standing ovation, which I thought calmed down. Let's calm down. Mate, they had a standing ovation at halftime and at full time.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to get the boys up and about, standing ovation after a loss. Come on now.
Oh, and you know what? If they had Nick Martin in the side, they might have won the game.
Oh, yeah. Ski, don't rub salt in the wound. Sam Draper, the big one there for the Bombers. Gee, they'll be disappointed with that.
That was 2 ruckmen now.
So Nick Brindy's ACL last week, Sam Draper Achilles, and it means that
2 metre Peter's got a ruck, does he? Who's rucking?
No.
Reed.
No.
Who?
You're forgetting. I walked across the oval.
Goldstein.
Todd Goldstein. Mate, he's 36, so he's my age. Doing a fartlek laps, sprinting up and down the ground. I just thought, this poor bloke, like, he's probably just thinking, he's the ruck coach.
I know.
So he's probably thinking, it'd just be nice to have these fucking ruckmen stand up and I don't have to play, but he's going to have to be their guy. You wouldn't want Peter Wright because...
And let's just give him a rap. First game back for the year, kicks a handful.
Yeah. Oh, gee, I thought, I don't want to be too critical. He was played on poorly. You got to be physical with Peter Wright. You got to play him really tight, and the boys playing on him gave him way too much space. If you give him space, not only he's 2 metre Peter, he's got 2 metres on you. I thought he was outstanding, and he won the game.
Effectively, yeah.
Him and Nick Martin. All right, Melbourne defeat Fremantle by 10 points at the MCG. Melbourne's first win of the season. No one saw this coming. Maybe other than Cozzy Pickett, who's just put another 0 on his contract, 24 disposals and 5 goals. Did you call this one?
Did call the game. There's lots of red flags early for Fremantle with the ease with which the Demons were scoring.
Yep.
And their midfield, they've been very strong in their clearance work against Essendon the week before, but they couldn't get a score out of those centre square clearances. On the weekend, they did that. Max Scorn was just enormous.
So he had 28, 31 hitouts and 10 clearances, 12 score involvements and 6 intercept marks.
12 score involvements, and Sean Darcy kicked a couple of goals, but clearly lowered his colours on the day.
It's probably not the player you want to come up against in your second game back from a 6-month layoff.
Yeah,
But I think you'd probably just park that one. Gun. Max Scorn.
Absolutely. So look, I thought their mids were really good. Viney on Sarong. Physical, did a number on him, and you mentioned Cozzy. Gee, he's a fascinating player, isn't he? When you do think of the possibilities if he does go to Fremantle, what he and Shea Bolton in the same side could do. Shea was pretty good, by the way.
Who?
Shea was pretty good on the weekend.
Yeah, I'll give you some damning stats, Skeeter. They lost contested possession by 20. They lost their inside 50 tackle count 27-4. Like that is absolutely damning because it speaks about how they're entering and it speaks about the
how
pressure.
it's coming out as well.
Yeah, and it speaks about the pressure that forwards and mids want to put on the opposition.
I remember there was a stat like that. I think it was Dockers playing Sydney, or there was a match, and it was exactly that type of number with the inside 50 tackles. And I vaguely remember it.
Collingwood, maybe?
Not me, Collingwood, yeah. And it was that was the type of stat that Justin Longmuir would have absolutely. That's the one you'd hone in on in regards to the intent of his players.
So do they just not rock? Like, are they not rocking up? I mean,
they go? Should they have come home and gone back? You tell me. Being on the road, does it?
You know, are they copping an absolute stinker when it comes to their fixture? Like they've had 5 heat policies. They're playing and travelling and
they chose to go to Melbourne. They've got to come home.
Yeah. Well, look. If you're asking me personally, I'd rather stay over there.
Yeah.
The flight back and forward is the brutality of it. If you just stayed in a hotel, like being out of your own bed, again, this is me personally, doesn't do anything. Like I'm a good sleeper and I sleep anywhere. I'd rather do that than have to travel 6 hours unnecessarily. So yeah, like I don't know exactly what it is, but clearly they didn't rock up mentally. I don't think the way they're playing is helping them. They're inviting pressure from the opposition, both by how they enter the forward line, right, and by how they're moving the ball. So we spoke about it on BackChat, but instead of using shape and the handball, right, instead of using the shape from contests to go forward like a GWS or an Adelaide do, they're going sideways and backwards and then they're kicking. Rather than taking it on with hands going forward and taking ground, they're not getting that. And so they're inviting pressure. You go back, invite pressure. Pressure comes on,
mistake,
turnover, can't defend behind it. I just don't think the way they're playing is helping them. So it takes a strong coaching staff to go, what we're doing is not working. Can we change it mid-year? I think they're going to have to consider it because I don't think how they're playing is going to get them in finals.
I just wonder whether, having spoken to a couple of people who should know that occasionally Justin Longmuir needs to slam the fist in and some tough love. Now, he's not that type of coach. I'm reliably informed. He's not a ranter and raver. You don't want
someone in there like that? Is there a ranter and raver?
Well, you need the good cop, bad cop. I agree. Now, I don't know whether it's a Joel Corey. I'm not sure it's him either, to be honest. I'm not sure that they have someone in there to really shake up the group and tell them as a collective that. Yeah, but I don't think Justin's that type of coach. Now, either he has to find something in his DNA to get this group. You need to be stung. I mean, Simo, as amiable as he is, he I'm sure at times picked his moments, but
it was more ups. Yeah, I remember one time we played someone and it was pretty poor effort, and he put the entire list up on the board. It was on the Monday, and he put the playing list on the board, and he started moving blokes left and right. Basically had a crack and didn't have a crack. So it was like, nah. That's what he was doing. And it was making a point, whether or not it was right. Probably, 16 out of the 22, nah. And like, I think Mark Hutchings got a yes. He might have tagged someone, and certainly not me. I probably wasn't even playing.
So it wasn't personal, but it was...
No, but it was personal. Yes. It was personal, but this is what happens in footy clubs, though. Anyway, he got to Brand College and he threw him on the floor.
What,
he got them made moving left, right, like, yep, nah, yep, nah, Moose, nickname Moose, nah, and threw it on the ground. So Simo was more of a, I'm disappointed in you, rather than, he was never really a ranter and raver. He had a little bit in him, but you knew. Same with all coaches, mate. Like that, Freo will know from what they did. I mean, on the other hand, like Simon Goodwin, he loses that and he's absolutely in the gun if he's not already. So that's a pretty good response from him, players. What?
No, I just laughed because I asked David Muddy the same question. He said, in terms of sprays, and he said Tendai Mzungu was taken to the bench and had to have a chat to Ross, who was on the phone, and Ross is giving him instructions, and Tendai's apparently going, yep. And then Ross apparently goes, if you effing say, one more time, you will never play for this, and gave him the full spray. Ross could give a verbal.
That's very good. All right, let's whip through the rest of the game. Skeeter, Freo, disappointing. West Coast, improved effort. But let's get into the rest of them. Collingwood defeat Brisbane by 52 at the Gabba. This was Thursday, so we moved on a little bit from there. Collingwood are premiership favourites, equal premiership favourites. I don't think many people had that. You might sit pretty and your bloody head's wobbling away. Look, why are you looking at me and nodding away? Why are you doing that?
I thought they might have been
eighth. You had them eighth.
Did I? Okay. Well, they still might finish eighth, but I thought they might have fallen off a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Skeeter picked Collingwood to make finals. Whoop-de fucking do. Like I was weighing up between them and Melbourne. I got it wrong, Skeet. Sorry.
No, I couldn't remember what you've got. I just want to find out how many tips you got on the weekend. If you still owe $7,000 to someone,
I've got 2 out of 8. If that's
that's just brilliant. It's not costing me money; it's costing you. Nick Dacos. You talk about Collingwood. Now I know Matt Rowell and others. Up in the Brownlow middle market. This guy's a gun.
Yeah.
He's superb. And
saw Simon Black compare him to Ben Cousins in his prime, which Simon Black would probably know, Brownlow medalist.
Yeah.
3-time premiership player.
Yeah.
I said before, but Scott Pendlebury would just be having that much fun playing with this kid because, credit where credit's due. Like Collingwood, I gave them no chance, and they've been elite. They look so well drilled. They
defensively.
You know when they won the flag and the year before that and they win all these close games and we're thinking, how are they doing this? Well, it's because they were so well drilled and they know their roles and they don't go outside their roles. Well, last year they'd lost the plot, premiership hangover.
Injuries, all of that
hangover. They lost the plot, mate. They got ahead of themselves, thought they were $1 million. Reality check, and now they're back. Like they look like the team from the 2 years prior, one of which is a premiership year.
Which sort of shines the mirror on Brisbane, who, like Hawthorn, were getting results, but the numbers, the comeback stuff looked great, but you always had this, can you keep going to the well to try and to find a way to, and on Thursday, calling the game, I'm saying, Paps is saying, there's a half-time. No, this team's too good to be letting you back in. As you said, because they play their roles to their system, defensively they've been brilliant all year. Bear in mind, Dan Houston didn't play on the weekend as well. So they've got some quality coming back.
He's barely played for him. He's played like one game, hasn't he?
Suspended.
Sidebottom looks elite. Like, he looks as good as he's ever looked.
But I still imagine guys like Pendlebury, Sidebottom, a few of them, it might be next week.
Jamie Elliott.
Well, not this week, obviously, Anzac Day. They'll get some managed time away from the...
No,
they'll be rested. They'll be rested.
Yes. And they should say rested.
Yeah.
Like old and rested, needs a break. Dane Zorko was lipping off at Chris Fagan. I don't know if you saw that
Yeah,
live.
did. Yeah, we saw that.
That was interesting because I thought it was a really good interaction because Chris Fagan is an on-the-bench coach, which I hate. Right? I saw Dean Cox down there yesterday. I saw Ken Hinkley down there at stages. Mate, get up in the coach's box and coach. Like these coaches that are down the boundary, McRae's down there.
What?
Simo used to come down every now and then. It's like, get back up in the box.
It works for them.
What? Huh?
It obviously works for them.
Well, I don't think it does. Simo, in our premiership year, Simo wasn't down on the bench. I can tell you that right now. The coaches should be up in the box coaching. They should be speaking to the other coaches and they should be communicating with their players from the box. Having a coach there, I don't know what it achieves. Anyway.
So Fagan, wrong. McRae, wrong. Hinkley, wrong. Just all duds, are they?
Look, personally, I don't think that's the best way to coach. But I'm different to everyone else, clearly. I'd be surprised if every AFL player loves their head coach being down there. Mate, you come to the bench, you just want a 5-second rest. You don't want to come off steaming like Dane Zorko was. He would have been embarrassed he gave a 50 away, got run
Turned
down,
it over.
turnover, goal.
Bobby Hill.
That's happened to me. Don't worry about that. And you just want to kill someone.
And Fagan might not even have said something as he came past him, but you could see the look, and it was just.
It makes it hard, and when you're steamed up like that, having the head coach there, I don't think helps. So Zorko's going back at Fagan, and Fagan's like, calm down, mate. It's a bit of tension that maybe doesn't need to
Great
be.
theatre.
Anyway, it was good. And Lachie Neale was sort of sitting there watching it all.
His parents arguing.
Yeah, correct. Collingwood, very good. Brisbane, it's not the worst thing in the world, but they'll need to bounce back next week. Carlton defeat North Melbourne by 82 points, and I picked.
This was your upset of the weekend.
Oh yeah, I was upset. All right, I was bloody upset. 82 points.
When are people going to realise that North Melbourne are just no good?
They'll win next week. Who are they playing? Who are they playing?
I'll
pick it early. Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. They'll win.
They haven't won at the Adelaide Oval ever.
Ever?
I don't think they've ever won at the Adelaide Oval. Dan will check that for me.
7 years.
Sure, they haven't won there.
All right. Well, Carlton. I can't say that Carlton are good.
No, but they've beaten two average sides of the past fortnight. But from those little things, hopefully for them, a bit of momentum follows.
So, Alistair Clarkson post game looked shattered. You see his words after he looked exasperated. It felt like a game he's built them up for, and he's got the opposite result. I think that he felt like the Carlton were a team they should challenge, and they got wiped off the park.
Yeah,
he would be sitting there going, he would be questioning everything that he's doing, I think,
and rightfully so, because I think on Friday, Good Friday was, in terms of having all their top draft picks together, that was almost the first time, or a rarity, they've had the collection of their better selections. Harry Sheasel, question mark as to how he's been played or what he's doing. Yeah, they got slaughtered like Hewitt in the middle, Chera. Yeah, and given that we know that Kemp out for the season, Mackay missing, Charlie kicks 4, but you're right. The storyline's more about North than about what Carlton have produced over the past fortnight against insipid opposition on both occasions. But you know what? You get a win, you can just build things, and that's a result that North. You tipped them in. I know there's a lot of people thought that North could win on Friday, but
so you didn't pick him.
No, well, you can't pick North. They've won. Like the Eagles, they haven't won any games in the past 3 years.
Do you call yourself the Oracle? Like, do you sometimes walk around and go, I know everything?
If you want to see my account, my
investing
account, you'll realise I'm no Oracle.
I'll just butt in for you guys. North Melbourne are 0-12 at Adelaide Oval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniel Contz. You like Dan? Just
it was good. No, I like it. It's like a little Dickie knee that just comes up out of the voice of God.
Good Friday appeal game.
20 million raised, I think.
I think North Melbourne has been spanked in 7 of 8 or
if you're
9
trying
of
to
10.
If you're trying to own this, sort of marquee spot, that's not how you do it.
So do you strip them?
Oh, I don't know.
I think there's a little bit of, it's such a great cause and we love how much money
it overrides the but
yeah, but if we look at it, what do we like? Any other club could do the same thing,
dishing out that sort of stuff. Yeah, and must be heartbreaking for North Melbourne supporters who have been gifted. They've been gifted some great opportunities with young players, but
they haven't been gifted wins.
No, exactly.
They've won for a decade.
I've beaten Melbourne this year, and Yeah, they're going nowhere in 25.
George Hewitt awarded best on ground. He's averaging 30 disposals. I heard Durden say that, in my opinion, he's all-Australian. He's having a very, very good year, George Hewitt.
Yeah, I hadn't put him in my... Carlton's been average until the last 2 weeks, and I wouldn't have him in my all-Australian.
I love that, though. Little forward pocket going, yeah, he's all-Australian.
Oh, yeah.
Adelaide defeat GWS by 18 at Adelaide Oval. I didn't see this.
I saw part of it, and you would have thought it was torrential rain.
Yeah, was it?
There was rain in the second half, and there was rain in the game, but it was just a low-scoring...
Pooperama.
Well, in that sense. And Adelaide, to be fair, you talk about how they looked a bit fatigued against Geelong on that Friday night, coming off that sort of 5-day break up the Gold Coast. Well, they did have the extra break this time.
It was 23-10 at half time.
Yeah, it was crap. It was not great to watch.
It was GWS were on 20 at three-quarter time.
Yeah.
And they finished on 34.
That's their sum total, yeah.
Right.
It was a bizarre game of footy, but look...
Riley tells me it's the worst game of the season.
There's a few contenders, but this is up there. Just in terms of quality, you've got 11 goals for the game. And from an Adelaide point of view, it's an important result, to be brutally honest.
Jesse Hogan didn't play.
He was late withdrawal.
Right.
I'm not sure what his issue was, to be honest. But once he went out, it was...
Managed?
He might have been. Jakey Stringer kicked 1-3, which wasn't great. But Tex Walker, just still... what is he, 30?
He's old. 35.
35.
Big fella. Kick 2. So leading goal kicker, he had 17. Lots of touches from the Giants, but didn't do much with it. Lockie Whitfield had 39, Tom Green 36, Lockie Ash 29, Finn Callahan 28. But they couldn't do anything with it. So is Adelaide really good, like defensively?
Not sure about that.
Must be okay.
Yeah, I'd just dismiss that performance by the Giants. 43 inside 50s to 56. So Adelaide, under those circumstances, and having a bit of a buffer, once the rain, the slippery conditions set in, it was always going to be tough to reel that in. So important win for the Crows, who had lost 2 in a row, and now they give themselves a win before heading to Perth on Thursday for Anzac Day.
They're legit, Adelaide.
A legit top 8 side?
Yeah.
I'd say legit top 8 side. That's all I'm prepared to say at this point. I'm not sure. I'll be having visions of grandeur when it comes to
they
top
lost
4.
the Gold Coast by a point.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's one of their losses.
At Geelong, they were beaten under. Yeah, again, probably the short term. No, I've got them top 8, but I'm not convinced they're top 4 side yet.
Okay. Did you not have them at the start of the year in your top 8? Is that why you're saying?
I didn't have them at top 8, and Hammer had them finishing about 17th. So I always like to refer to him.
Yeah, you got a short memory when it comes to important things.
Absolutely.
And you got a bloody long memory when it comes to things that are irrelevant and puts you in golden prime time.
Yeah, I've learned from my wife.
The Grandmaster. Richmond defeat Gold Coast by 11 at Marvel Stadium.
You know what? They were $1.06 or something. They were like, the line was 45. And Damien Harbuck, who hated going to Marvel Stadium as a Richmond coach, is still hating the joint.
Still hates it. So, look, I can't help but think of West Coast when I watch Richmond, because the games that I've watched closely that Richmond's been involved in, and it hasn't been every game this year, but I was at the Carlton game and I watched this one minute to minute because I had some investing and a couple of players in my dream team playing. Yeah. Richmond's spirit and camaraderie and connection with each other, regardless if they won this game or not, every tackle that was made, they had 3 blokes picking him up. Every goal that was kicked, they celebrated like it was a grand final goal. Every big moment that happened, they were excited to be out there. They looked like they were having fun, and that they just wanted to take it up to a really good side in Gold Coast. And I haven't seen that from West Coast this year at all. The spirit that Richmond played with.
Yeah, I thought Friday was the closest we've seen.
But what I'm talking about,
just that
it's
next layer.
It's not tackling and chasing and smothering. It's what makes footy when you're playing in a great side
and the love of each other. You can see
you can see it.
Yeah.
Collingwood, I'm sure, had a massive focus in their premiership year of doing it. Someone would spoil it, and backmen are ripping them up off the ground, and
that's true.
It just makes you want to play and you enjoy it, and that's what Richmond looked like, and they win the game because of it.
And you referred to West Coast. Well, now it's down to 2 for the Wooden Spoon. You'd probably think, wouldn't you?
Who's the other one?
Well, North and West Coast.
How are North still in the conversation? What are they doing?
Well, they've won a game, the Eagles haven't, but that's not a great result for either of the North or the Eagles. But Richmond, 2 wins, and that was, off the back of guys like Nick Vlosten, who had his nose rearranged. He was terrific. Taranto, plenty of the footy. Didn't see much of this game, but you knew that Gold Coast, who'd been up, unbeaten, turned up clearly, thinking that, just got to... Don't have to roll the sleeves up here too much. We'll just Richmond will roll over because they don't like Marvel, the Tigers. But guess what? The young players they didn't take a backward step.
Got to be noted. Gold Coast had a very soft run to start the year, so we don't know for sure. Gold Coast are a top 4.
No, I'm not saying
Premiership
top 4
contender.
No.
I'd have him in the same basket as Adelaide.
I
agree. A couple of things that did happen. Skeet, you're right. Nick Vlaston, he was amazing. He was best on ground. He had 15 intercepts. I don't know how many of those were
He's
marks.
He's never been All-Australian, I don't think.
Is that right?
Yeah, been a bloody good player.
If he was a tiny bit taller, he would be like one of the greats. He's just because he's a bit smaller, but he reads the ball so well. He had 20. What?
Well, if I was a tiny bit taller, I might have been done something with my life as well. You were a tiny bit smaller, you could have been a jockey.
That's very good. But one thing that did happen, Skeet, which I know you would hate.
Yeah.
Richmond fans cheered every time Noah Bolter got the ball.
And they were booing Mac Andrew.
Why were they booing him?
I have no idea. But, yeah, it's not... You know what? I read that on social media because I was doing the waffle that night. And I guess how I can refer to that, and don't put the two blokes in the same basket in the instance, but when Andrew Gaff played...
supporters showing
their support for him as opposed to the action. That's how. Do you sort of read it that way?
I actually couldn't figure it out, and that's a pretty good explanation.
That's the only analogy I can put to it.
If only the AFL had have not wiped their hands clear of it, we wouldn't have to deal with it or talk about it. We'll find out tomorrow what he gets sentenced with, and I'm sure it'll be a slap on the wrist. Port Adelaide defeats Sydney by 8 at the SCG yesterday. Sydney should have won this game.
Should they?
Yeah, they should have, mate. And I don't know what's going on at the Swans. My best summation is... they're mentally cooked. And I think this was on the cards before the season started, but losing 2 grand finals the way they've lost them the last 3 years, they've cooked themselves. And they don't have the fire to go again.
Yeah, and
because their list hasn't changed.
No, and you know what? I think we both agreed on this. I thought Port Adelaide could have fallen into the same category with regards to cooked, having got to prelim finals and not won a grand final. And I actually thought Sydney were good things in this game heading into it, simply off the back of what the emotional investment that Port had against Hawthorn. They've got a great record, though. I know they were beaten in the prelim last year by Sydney, but Port's record against the Swans is exceptional.
So Sydney had 10 more inside 50s. They had more contested They had 50 more contested possessions than Port Adelaide. They had 100 more possessions. Sydney, like they. I don't particularly know. They had 15 more clearances. So, yeah, I think Sydney. Honestly, mate, Hammer asked, can Dan Cox coach? I don't think we know that. I think
he came in a pretty. It's a sticky situation. You lose like that in the grand final.
I've been there, mate. They're mentally cooked.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I'm saying. So the question, can Coxie coach? I think he came in. People say they're a good list and they want to get back to the big day, but I think it's a really tough gig.
Yeah.
In that respect. Now, I was at lunch for this, and I will reveal I did have, as part of a multi...
Exclusive coming.
No, I had Sydney at plus 7.5. Now, I read somewhere that Hayden McLean dropped a sitter in the goal square towards the end of the match. Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, but don't worry about your investment. He dropped a sitter with a minute 20 to go, down by under 2 goals.
Whereabouts?
About 3.5 metres out from goal, I reckon.
It was a sitter, was
uncontested. He dropped about 5 uncontested.
Finished with 2-4, didn't he?
Yeah, but he had more opportunities than the 2-4 as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, he did. Yeah, 3.5.
Oh, great.
So, but don't worry about that. He dropped them the win, not just your investment, but that's how it goes sometimes.
So you think Sydney should have won that game?
Yep, absolutely they should have. By those stats too. Western Bulldogs defeat St Kilda by 71 at Marvel Stadium. Boy, oh boy, well, Bontempelli's back in a big way.
We love him. We love him, and he's just he's been absent, and Libba and others have sort of held the fort. But
Libba's my favourite, right? He had a chase down tackle yesterday. That is the best moment of the year.
Bradley Hill?
He ran down Brad Hill.
Yeah,
and I know Brad's getting a bit older, but he's quick. Libba ain't quick.
And it is hard to when you got the footy, you're running quicker sometimes. Like if you're chasing, you sort of look like you're trying to get to the bloke. I imagine you're No, you're not going to. He ran him down.
Talking about non-All-Australians, Tom Liberatore has never been All-Australian. He 1,000% is in the All-Australian midfield right now. I'm telling you, and I've been banging on about this, Skeet. He is having a very, very, very good year, and I think it helps him having Bont back in the side because he doesn't have to shoulder everyone's load. Western Bulldogs, good. Sam Darcy not out for the year, good. Riley Sanders looked very good, 32-2. Aaron Norton, as soon as Sam Darcy went down, looked like he transformed into Aaron Norton of 2 years ago.
That is, yeah.
It's a mental game, Skate. It's a mental game. And someone would have put it to him at quarter time.
Yeah.
Said, we need you.
Yeah. And I was just same maybe have happened with knowing that Oscar Allen was out for the Eagles. Jake Waterman realised, hang on, I'm the guy, not just one of two, I'm the guy. And that maybe was the case with Norton as the Jamara stuff still just drifts into the background.
He went to like superhuman mode. It was crazy.
Big loss for St Kilda after looking good for a couple of weeks. They, you don't know what to make of them.
Well, we're not surprised. St Kilda weren't going to be a final side. No.
But you knock off Geelong and they beat Port. They beat Port at the Adelaide Oval.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's just hard to get a gauge on a few clubs at the moment.
Yeah. I'm just checking because that is all we're done for the weekend, but I thought we'd do a little preview quickly if we can get this out in time. Geelong v Hawthorn MCG. I was just looking. Has there been any laid outs yet? I mean,
no, it's still...
maybe Chris got it. I mean, it's not late enough yet. Maybe Chris hasn't got to the ground yet, but I was hearing... yeah, so anyway... that's sort of what's happening, I suppose.
Geelong,
yes,
good record against...
Can't find it, sorry.
Tom Stewart isn't in at this stage. I'm assuming he plays, which is big for them. I just think that Sam Mitchell will be able to get just switch on his players this week. I think last week was ambush material, and I suspect Geelong. Geelong will be are a quality outfit. For some reason, even though Will Day's absence, and they're going to have to get used to that, is significant. I just think that we'll see a different Hawthorn side today.
Yes, I agree. Scrimshaw's back. Connor McDonald is back. Jack Ginnivan has been dropped. She just said Finn McGuinness, no good. Tom Stewart is in with Ted Closey omitted. He was the sub last week. So Will Day, you mentioned a record last week that they haven't been able to win without him, basically.
80% of the time when he's in there, they win. 30% when he's not there, they lose. That's an incredible stat for one player.
Yeah, absolutely. Who mans up on Jeremy Cameron? I reckon that's definitely battle. Definitely. I don't think Tom Barrett.
Where does Tom go?
He'll go to the big fella, Shannon Neal.
Yep. But you'll feel pretty comfortable. Not so comfortable.
Well, yeah. I mean, Shannon's been able to do pretty well in how we're doing about it. But who do you think's going to win? Give us a pick.
Yeah, I tipped Hawthorn about 30 seconds ago, but I
wasn't listening. I'm a bit rattled at the moment because I just realised I've got to be out the door for an 11 o'clock radio session.
Oh, you'll be fine.
5 minutes to 11. Okay, I've picked Hawthorn too. I think they'll go quite well. I'm going to whip through a couple of these. What?
Yes, no, just quick. No, that's fine. Just want to double check on Thursday where you're at with your tipping and
2 out of 8.
Yeah,
and so I'm probably like 200, so I'm about $2,000 down. All right, questions and comments from our audience. We're going to get that meme up where that guy's like wheezing. I bet Skeet calls the entry to his house the Porte Cochero.
Oh,
what's that?
Well, it's obviously French for I'm home, darling.
My netball coach used to make us watch Rocky as a group every year before we flew to nationals. It worked a time or two as well. Minnie needs to wheel out the TV and tell the boys to put their mouth guards in for a session. That's from Keely.
He might have done it last week. That's why they were so good against the Bombers.
And a last one from Wilma. G'day, Solar Panels. Wilma Fingerdo here. Just wondering if you could explain what a Monday meeting looks like after a game. Is it just the coach going through vision showing you what you did wrong, or is it a mix of good and bad? Also, how important is the captain of a footy club? If you have a strong group of senior players, does one guy really make that much of a difference? Cheers, from Wilma. It's a good question. So, Monday morning, or at least the first session after a game, it's a bit of both. You'll have your key kind of way that you wanted to play, and they'll show things that you did well and things you didn't do well in regards to that. So maybe you wanted to really focus on contested ball. Usually there's one big focus, and if it's contested ball, you'd show really good stoppage setups. You'd show good pressure in forward line. You'd show moments where you shirked a contest. You'd show aerial contests where the balance wasn't good enough, and you sort of get a good gauge there. They show a bit of how the game was won and lost. Mm-hmm. This is how they won. This is how we won. This is how we lost. This is how they lost, something like that. And then the best ones I've been in, and we called it For the Boys, a bit of a highlights reel of moments for the boys that you smothers, tackles, liberatore type chases, things that you haven't seen on any of the stuff. You're not going to see on stats, but get rewarded. You know, when you talk about like, oh, you know, he's someone that gets rewarded within the four walls. That's the moment it happens. Jamie Cripps runs up the ground, gets inside D50 to man someone up, then they turn the footy over, he runs back and he gets to the goal square at the other end, doesn't get a touch, but Simo or Minnie now would go, just watch Jamie Cripps here. This is the work rate we need as a football club. And that's it. Like, he doesn't get a touch. So that's the sort of things that goes on. And then coaches are just constantly going, how do I get a reaction out? Do I need to go hard? Do I need to act disappointed? Do I need to send messaging positively? Do we need to move on quickly? Like, do we say, oh, boys, we're parking this, we're not going to do it? Or do we watch 2 hours of the grand final like Sydney do? Like, they are constantly making those decisions as well. Skeet, I'm talking fast because I need to get out of here.
Yeah, we'll have a review of this podcast in about 5 minutes, so enjoy the rest of your Easter Monday.